In episode number 329 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Aquaman's latest box office totals.
We also have more specifics on DC Comics and their plans for the variants on Detective Comics 1000.
And our comic book highlight this week is Superior Spider-Man number 1.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am your almighty Emperor Palpa Kelli.
And I am Biker Daniel.
Are you the Mohawk Biker Daniel?
I think that's Cue Ball.
Oh, you're right.
Or is that the bald one?
No, the Cue Ball's the bald one. I thought the biker just had the thing and he was like, nee, over his shoulder.
Nee.
So the way we format the show is first we start out with some news. We're going to cover all those things I just mentioned. We have our Brocat block where we talk about what happened with us this week, our Patreon shoutouts, and finally our comic book highlight of the week. But before we get too far, I do want to say hi to my mom because she is still listening. So, hey mom, welcome back to the show.
Let's go ahead and kick things off here with some somewhat unrelated House of Cards news, but anyone that has seen or listened to the show for many years knows how big of a fan I am with House of Cards. And Kevin Spacey put out a random, out of nowhere, unexpected video on his personal YouTube channel and on Twitter.
The video is titled, Let Me Be Frank. And it was pretty much him being Frank Underwood, doing things. What was he making? A peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something?
Yeah, or carving a turkey.
Right.
I'm not really sure.
It was just him acting as Frank, pretty much getting all our hopes up that he would actually come back as Frank Underwood.
On the very surface, it looks like he was essentially campaigning for a true final season of House of Cards. He was mentioning things like, "You never really saw me die, and I know what you guys want. You want me back." And he kept saying the things that I was thinking. Of course, we want Frank back. We want him to do this true House of Cards. But others were interpreting this video as him kind of putting forth a message towards the court case that he's about to go into, as far as like possibly threatening people that were giving false news or false allegations against Kevin. So it was a little confusing as to what he meant from this video. If this actually was his attempt at trying to get people to rally and kind of ask for a final House of Cards season, do you think it was at all successful in any way, shape, or form?
I didn't hear about it anywhere except from you. But realistically, what percentage of House of Cards viewers really follow Kevin Spacey on social media? Do you think, so you just mentioned maybe it was him threatening people. Do you think he thinks he's Frank Underwood now? Like, what if he actually thought he was Frank Underwood forever?
I'd be amazed. Like, that's how dedicated he was to the role. And that was a great role. Great character on top of that. Starts pushing the judge or all these other witnesses in front of trains.
Taps on the table during his court case with his ring.
I would love to see that. And to anyone that is unfamiliar as to why Kevin Spacey is going into court, Netflix severed all ties with him in November of 2017, and he is now facing a felony charge for the alleged sexual assault of a minor in 2016. So there was the first one of the cast member from, I believe, Star Trek Discovery, saying that when he was a kid and they were doing plays together, he kind of drunkenly forced himself on him and was like trying to kiss him, and then finally like he got up and left. And Kevin said, "I don't know, that might have been true. That was many years ago. Maybe it happened. And by the way, I'm gay." And it was like a weird...
Yeah, I remember. It was weird.
Like his PR guy or girl should be fired if they're not already. But now whoever is handling that made them do this video, which is also very confusing and not as effective, I think. But this new allegation from 2016, supposedly the police involved say that they have video evidence of this particular incident, which they're not sharing due to it being evidence and it's going to go under close eye. I don't know if we'll ever see it. I think it has to be made public at some point with all court things and court cases. but it seems like it's been pretty serious with everything that's been going against Kevin. And I think with this particular, if this allegation had not come forth from 2016, I think he might have had a better chance at maybe rallying and campaigning for a true final season.
See, it was real shady to me too, because that video came out, right, of Kevin Spacey being Frank Underwood. And then wasn't it like a day or two later that someone's like, oh, he did this to me in 2016? I don't know. The thing is happening that I mentioned last year that would happen, and people are becoming desensitized to this whole Me Too thing. I'm desensitized. But the thing is, like, everybody's saying it, and I get it. I'm not trying to discredit what you've been through and what's happened to you, because yes, those are shitty things, but I don't think as many that are coming out are actually valid.
One thing that Maceo and I were talking about this past weekend at the UFC fight is that, he pointed out that several episodes did get filmed and did get finished before they finally ended up cutting, I think, a fourth of the way through the season. They didn't get too far, but enough got filmed and finished where they could legitimately finish the rest of the season in 6 or 7 episodes. Now, I don't know if the budget is there. There's, as he mentioned, there's not like a Spacey cut of the final season that's already done and they can just edit
Bring
together.
out the Spacey cut.
Which they should. Give me at least those 3 episodes,
right,
and I'm in. Make those 3 episodes end of season 7, and I'll take it. I don't care if it ends on a cliffhanger like it normally does. I'm like, that's a more fitting ending probably than what they tried to do with Claire Underwood. So I'm for this. I hope he gets off clean. I just want to see the last House of Cards season, or at least release it and film it before he goes into court. And if he's found guilty, release it before then. That way Netflix can't feel guilty or bad about releasing them. And I can still enjoy proper House of Cards.
Even if they found him guilty, you'd be like, release it anyway.
Can you just get him out of jail and have him film that stuff and then put him back?
Just film him in jail. Why not?
And then if there's another, if it's so successful that you want another season, then can you just bring him out again?
No, they could just turn his jail cell into the Oval Office. Just bring
That's
the prop
perfect.
guys in, film him there.
Keep him properly fed.
Yeah.
And treat him essentially probably even better than when you filmed House of Cards. I want that season. I like Kevin Spacey. He's an amazing actor. House of Cards is one of my favorite shows, and it's a shame that we did not get to see it properly end.
Something that has had even more success than House of Cards, sorry Daniel, is going much farther than I ever anticipated. I did not see it reaching these numbers, but that is your movie, Aquaman.
That's right, a lot of MCU sheep, a lot of bloggers, a lot of critics did not see this happening. After last weekend's earnings, bringing up Aquaman's worldwide total to $822 million, the film is now DC's 4th largest total, behind not just DCEU, this is total, right? So it's behind The Dark Knight Rises, The Dark Knight, Batman v Superman in that order. So the one that made the most is Dark Knight Rises with Bane, and now Aquaman is quickly climbing and biting at the heels of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice.
That's too many millions.
Now, it's not fair to just compare it to DC, right?
Right,
come on, let's see how the other superhero movies did.
Well, it's still doing better than a lot of the MCU solo films, including Spider-Man Homecoming and Captain America Civil War.
Insanity. The whole reason Disney spent millions of dollars to try to get Spidey into Captain America 3 Civil War for that subpar airport scene, which I like Civil War overall, but that was a weak scene. And they spent all that money on it, and it made less than the Aquaman fucking movie. Good on Aquaman, good on Warner Brothers.
The crazy thing is, Aquaman still hasn't even released in Japan.
Right.
So what's going to happen when it hits that market, right? It can easily surpass $1 billion.
It's going to definitely hit $1 billion. And I gave you the timeline of what these MCU bloggers and reviewers were saying. And at first it was, WB is foolish to release in December. That is Disney's. They have Mary Poppins. They're going to get wrecked by Mary Poppins. Aquaman releases, Mary Poppins does not do nearly as well as Disney would have liked, and instead gets trounced by a Transformer and Jason Momoa. Then they were saying, well, it's not a big deal, it's never going to hit $1 billion. And now that it's getting into the billion mark, they're saying, Well, so what? I mean, it's not like it's the first superhero movie to hit $1 billion. It's like you guys, you have no way, as someone said on Twitter, you have no way to negatively spin $1 billion at the box office.
Right.
As hard as you may try, it's not happening.
The funny thing is, a lot of that money probably came from MCU sheep. Like, I'm sure they're watching it and enjoying it because there was just enough to keep them entertained.
Right. The other thing, too, that's been happening, it's not on the show notes, but now you can get your real reaction to this. How familiar are you with Spawn?
Like 2% familiar with Spawn.
What kind of, just from the little bit that you know, what kind of tone would you say Spawn has?
A dark tone.
Right. And Todd McFarlane, who is the creator of Spawn and co-creator of Venom, of course, in the Marvel Universe, and he made Spawn look very similar to that character in his creation with Image Comics. But in this case, this is a film that he is, I believe, co-writing, maybe 100% writing possibly, and he's also directing. And they've been asking a lot of questions about it. In the past, he has said that this is not a superhero film. You're not going to see the crazy capes and anything. It's going to be way more grounded. He compared it to a horror film like Halloween, in which the presence, the lumbering guy that is not running around. He's going towards these bad guys, these villains, and he's killing them. So it's going to be a low budget film, and he's kind of reinventing the character of Spawn. And Jamie Foxx is going to be starring in that movie. Well, today he did say that he described it as a film with, quote, no joy. And the bloggers and the reviewers and the Marvel sheep had a fucking fit over this on Twitter. They were saying, great, because that's what we need. A superhero film that's without joy, that's joyless. Is this the sequel to Batman v Superman? Boy, this sounds like something that would be on Zack Snyder's plate. It's like, do you guys understand that Spawn is never joyous? It is not a funny film. It is not a funny book. If you want a funny superhero film, then watch the next fucking clown MCU movie. Like, Spawn is not it. Read a fucking Spawn comic. This is a dark, fucked up story, and you want him to run around telling jokes? You want him to jump off a building, the superhero moment, and then he falls? Whoa! Goo! I'm all right. I'm okay. And then the Violator going, and they call me the clown. Like 96% fresh tomato. That's what you guys fucking want? You got some fucking nonsense fart jokes in this? Keep that in your MCU and your Marvel movies. Not everything has to be like the Disney superhero flicks.
That's just what I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to defend them, but that's just what they associate with a good movie, and that's unfortunate that they can't enjoy these other movies for what they are, right? But again, it brought more eyes on comics. I don't know.
They think that all of superheroes, and some people have said, like, they're going to ruin the formula or the way that people perceive superhero films by constantly favoring these type of movies. And so far, it's kind of happening within their own little world, though. As we saw with Aquaman, it did not have a joke every 30 seconds like the Marvel movies did. And thankfully, it paid off in a big way where it's making more money than a lot of these.
Billion ways.
That's right. And Spawn is not going to be that. It never should be, and it never will be. Watch the HBO cartoon, which is probably the closest thing that you have to the comic books, and you don't have him cracking jokes. It's not a joyful cartoon. Why should Spawn have to be that way? This is just a product of them. One, it's not Disney, so they immediately need to sharpen their knives and get ready to give it a negative review. If this was Disney producing Spawn, exact same thing, exact same quote, they would be praising them for taking chances.
So let me ask you about Spawn, because you said he's very similar to Venom, right?
In design.
So are we going to get an Eminem Spawn song?
They should.
Because that's all that I want out of this movie. It's Spawn.
I mean, if it worked out for Venom and it got them millions of dollars, why not have an Eminem Spawn song?
They should have had an Aquaman Eminem. Just give Aquaman all the songs in every movie. I mean, give Eminem all the songs in every movie.
I don't know why Spawn song reminded me of Thon song. So now I'm Spawn.
I would love that.
As sung by Cisco and or Eminem.
Both of them. Why can't they have a collaboration? Like Cisco sings his part and then Eminem jumps in with a rap?
Yes, there you go. That's how you do it. They're both pretty cheap right now.
What are they doing?
I know it's a low-budget movie.
I'm pretty sure Cisco's doing nothing.
Oh, so he'll work for free. He'll work for royalties.
Yes,
the songs.
There you go.
do 10 cents per play.
Perfect.
Next, we have the comic book side of today's news, and that is with DC Comics revealing the actual variants for Detective Comics number 1000, which does release on March 27th. They gave retailers a big spreadsheet with all of the covers on there with a little checkbox. They did the work that we normally do for us, and we were extremely happy with it because we're like, this actually looks really good. Printed it out in color, put it in every sub box, printed out extras, put them on the counter, and it's been working.
There will be 11 covers total, not including any online or retailer exclusives, and much like Action Comics 1000, each variant will celebrate a different decade of the Dark Knight's legacy. We loved when they did this for Superman. There were a lot of really great covers. I expect we'll see the same with Detective Comics.
The artists do include Steve Rude, Bruce Timm, Michael Cho, Jim Steranko, Bernie Wrightson, Frank Miller, Tim Sale, Jock, and Greg Capullo as the different decades and eras for Detective 1000.
Those are some pretty big names. You're going to have to get Bruce Timm done. Needs to happen. Greg Capullo, gotta have him. Tim Sale, what has he done? I feel like we liked a lot of Tim Sale things.
The Long Halloween is what he's mainly known for. Spider-Man Blue. Here's the variant so that Kelli can take a look at
I'm going to tell you, this is the first time I've seen these guys. I'm going to tell you exactly which one's with Bruce Timm. Done. Love it.
And that one has the Joker kind of, what era is that? 1940s?
1940s. Joker's coming out of a genie lamp. I don't know why.
It's a cover recreation of a classic.
And very much Batman the Animated Series standing there because, again.
Yes. It should have just been an animated series cover. It's like, but that's the 40s. It's like, I don't care.
Just do it, guys. This Greg Capullo one is great from the 2010s. Beautiful. Gorgeous. I like this Jock one a lot, too.
Mm-hmm. Have
to get that one. Tim Sale, nah. He's okay. Frank Miller.
That's actually been one of the more popular ones, oddly enough. Like I don't like it. I get that it's the Dark Knight Returns, but it's an alright cover. It's not great.
Yeah. I kind of like this Michael Cho one.
I reserved that one. It's got the difference.
Got, like, caveman Batman chilling there.
I think there's Batmite somewhere in there, too.
Oh, yeah, little baby Batmite.
It also reminds me of, like, very Darwin Cookish.
Yes, I can see it.
And if Darwin Cook were still around today, he would have had one of those covers.
Who's this bearded Batman? He's like Wizard Batman.
I have not read 50s Batman, I can't tell you. Or 60s, whatever he ended up doing.
I love this. These are all great. Great job. Do you have anybody ordering all of them?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I do. I have a few subs that got one of each. And the main cover is the Jim Lee one, which is a wraparound one. I know online they've been saying that it was kind of weak. I like it. I like that it has several characters in there. It's got Damian, it's got Nightwing, Harley Quinn, the Joker, and Batman pretty much front and center of the cover.
Yeah, you got all the villains. Oh, Catwoman's chilling there too. They're real happy together. It looks like they beat up all the villains, and then Alfred's just like, your tea, sir. And I'm like, thanks, Alfred. Bringing us tea after we kicked ass.
Since you have them there, the ones that I am getting for us is, by the way, the 1930s one with Batman about to pounce on the KKK members. It's another cover recreation.
I didn't notice it was the KKK.
That should be more, I think that's going to be controversial when it releases.
Yeah.
Like right now, the casual, like non-comic readers haven't picked up on that cover. I think it's going to be controversial.
Especially because they're like killing a woman.
Yeah, I'm getting that one. It's a beautiful cover. I'm getting the Jim Lee one because it's a wraparound and it's Jim Lee. I'm getting the Bruce Timm one. The Michael Cho one might be my favorite one. It's colorful. It's beautiful. It's well done. I'm getting the Capullo 2010s. I'm getting the Jock. I'm getting the Blank because I got to take it to conventions and get a nice sketch. The rest I'm kind of on the, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I was kind of wanting something a little bit stronger from the rest of the artists, but I mean, they got half of them on my subscription already, so that's $50.
We couldn't afford any of them to be stronger. But there is something here for everyone, right? So you really see the different eras of Batman, how his character and his design has evolved throughout the years. And you can get one, you can get them all. I won't say get none because you should probably get one.
And as compared to the Action 1000, which was $7.99 when that one released, this is Batman. It's the greatest superhero of all time, and they extended it to a 96-page giant as opposed to the 80, which was Action. And because of that, this one is going to be $9.99. Still
a good price. Worth it. Less than the price of 2 cups of coffee.
As always, when you break it down compared to comics today, let's say a Marvel book for $3.99, you get plenty more pages out of this $9.99er than you would if you were to break down 96 pages in today's books.
We do have a solicitation, quote, Detective Comics number 1000 is highlighted by an original story from the team of writers Peter J. Tomasi and artist Doug Mankey that not only launches a new story arc, but introduces a new version of the Arkham Knight to DC Comics canon. Detective Comics 1000 also features a 2-page spread spotlighting the current state of the Batman universe by Jason Fabok, plus a treasure trove of original stories from a who's who of comic writers and artists, all honoring the milestone anniversary of the world's greatest detective, including Kevin Smith and Jim Lee, Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev, Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen, Tom King, Tony Daniel, and Joelle Jones, and many, many more. End quote.
Fantastic lineup. You gotta have Paul Dini, co-creator of Harleen Quinzel, wrote some of the best episodes in Batman the Animated Series, and of course, Dustin Nguyen, one of the greatest living artists of our time.
Are they teaming up? Because there was an "and" in between their two names.
Yes, they are. They're teaming up. This is how you fucking do it. We wanted this. This is what we fucking wanted.
This is all my dreams coming true. Did I call this? Because I felt like I spoke about this and said that I wanted this to happen.
It's something that
Did I speak it into creation?
I mean,
can I do that?
We don't know that they don't listen. We know Jeff is a buddy of ours, so
I would
don't know.
like to win some lots of money. Can I just speak things into happening?
Can we get a page of Paul Dini's like written script and then like him signing it? And here you go.
Can
Papa
I get
Kelly.
some original Dustin art?
Yes.
More original Dustin art? That'd be great.
It looks like an amazing lineup. It's going to be an awesome celebration of the character, and I do want to try to build this up at the comic shop as something bigger than what we did for Action 1000, which was still huge, but I want to try to convince the boss man to get like a cake or something, for the event.
Right.
And last year we didn't prep quite well enough, so this year I want to try to be on top of it so that we can really make this a special day for Batman.
A special day for us, more so than Batman.
And his fans. Because this was still in that holiday season, post-New Year's celebrations, a lot of sites took a break, especially with the news. It was a little bit lighter, but we do actually have plenty of content as we have the Patreon shoutouts that we still owe from last week's episode. We will get to that, but since it is the first episode of the month, we have What's New on Netflix for January 2019.
These, of course, is not the full list. This is just our highlights, things that are important to us, things that we enjoy. You can Google What's New on Netflix January 2019, and you can find the full list on a numerous amount of sites.
First one on this lineup is Godzilla, the 1998 Godzilla.
Everyone's favorite.
Starring Matthew Broderick. I played that in the store, and of course I heard comments around like, of all Godzillas to play, and I'm just like, like just going about my work. But every now and again I would catch a line that I'm like, you know what? That's kind of funny. That's not bad. You actually see Godzilla pretty early on in this movie.
Yeah. I
think I'm going to sit down and give it a fair watch, like give it another go. Mm-hmm. As a kid, I was kind of like, that's not Godzilla. That's a giant lizard. And then as I got a little bit older, I'm like, okay, I guess it's supposed to be a mutated lizard.
Yes.
I kind of have to go back and really see what that movie meant.
I remember very little of that movie. What I do remember is, yes, it was a lizard that got mutated by radioactive whatever. They dropped a nuke, right? And then the lizard turned into giant ass Godzilla. I remember that Godzilla was a girl and laid a bunch of eggs, and they tried to eradicate the eggs, and one survived, and we see that at the end, that there's still that one. And I remember a dump truck full of fish.
That's a lot of fish.
That's all I remember. Is that what they say?
That's what Matthew Broderick says, yeah.
That's all and I remember Matthew Broderick being awkward, but I feel like he's awkward in everything.
Pretty much. He's great in Cable Guy. Love him in that.
But he was also awkward in Cable Guy.
A little bit.
So, okay. He was awkward in Inspector Gadget, too.
Yes, he was. I do remember Godzilla Final Wars, in which this Godzilla, the American one, goes up against Classic, the real one.
No! Who won? Classic?
So this is their way. It's like the opening fight, but their way of kind of eradicating this from canon, or at least not make, or essentially pitting them up and saying, your Godzilla was shit, is these particular aliens that come to Earth because it is Japanese Godzilla. They end up bringing Zilla, as they name it in this, and they said they thought that this was the real Godzilla, but in fact this wasn't. And they brought him to fight Godzilla. And as soon as Zilla runs at Godzilla, he just turns around, swipes it with the tail. It goes flying into the Australian theater, whatever that big landmark is. And then Godzilla, the opera house. And Godzilla atomic breaths that opera house and Zilla, and it just blows up. So one hit, atomic breath, it takes less than a minute. And this was the Japanese essentially saying, yeah, that was crap.
You guys are silly.
True Godzilla won. And even most people, Godzilla fans, were very happy with it because they were saying, yeah, that wasn't true Godzilla. But again, I want to go back and I want to give it just a fair shot.
You know, maybe if they didn't market it as Godzilla, right? Like you said, it was a mutant lizard. So maybe if they marketed it as a mutant lizard, then people wouldn't have been so angry.
We'll find out. I'm going to watch them.
You have to give your full review out of like 1 through 5 Zillas.
Sure. Sounds good.
Or 1 through 5 fish.
Next on the list is Indiana Jones. All of them. Every single indie film, 1 through 4. Yes, even Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. We've been playing those in the store.
Why? What?
Well, by permission of the owner.
Oh, okay.
I know we sell like one Indiana Jones comic from Marvel that they published many years ago. And it's like, yeah, it counts. But he likes the indie movies too. So he's like, it's fine. And I remember I asked my part-timer, I said, what are those rated? Because I remember there being a heart that gets taken out, the melting faces. And she looks and she goes, oh, PG. Because back then there was no PG-13.
Right.
So it was like, all right, PG is totally fine. I think today it'd be rated R.
Probably. I remember really liking these movies as a kid, and I don't think I've ever seen one the whole way through. But I really liked him. I didn't see the one with the guy with the heart, with the... Like, I remember that scene, but I never watched that one. I always watched with the cup.
The Holy Grail?
No, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Was that it?
I think it was the first one. It's also been many years since I've seen them.
Yeah, anyway, with the cup, and then he finds it's the one wooden cup, and then he has to walk across the plank that he can't see, that I feel like he would really be able to see. But whatever.
We'll watch those too.
We should.
It's a good month.
I feel like I really enjoyed them, but I don't know, maybe they don't hold up.
For Kevin Smith fans, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It's another one I saw years ago, too, and I do want to watch it again. And I know Mark Hamill makes an appearance in there.
Does he really?
And I think Stanley shows up in Mallrats, but he might show up in this one, too. Who knows? I'll watch it. Either way, we get Mark Hamill, the Joker himself.
Does Stanley be like, Excelsior?
I don't remember. I know he gives Kevin like some life advice, and it's actually a pretty deep role for even based on his cameos.
All right. Cool. Something for me, and I guess the rest of you. Pan's Labyrinth is now on Netflix.
If you guys want to see Kelly's favorite movie of all time, it is on Netflix right now. Pan's Labyrinth, El Laberinto del Fauno is what it's titled. And if you don't watch anime, you're not used to reading subtitles, then this movie, you might struggle a little bit. You might have to pay more attention. The whole movie is in Spanish. And then you get the subtitles in it. It's got Dougie Jones from Silver Surfer, from Hellboy. He plays Abe Sapien. And here he plays two creatures, also known for, more importantly, The Shape of Water, in which he played the creature. So this was an amazing performance, probably his favorite of ours, because he does play the two creatures and absolutely kills it. He gets tons of screen time.
I don't remember how many years it's been since I've seen this movie. It's been a ton of years. So we'll have to rewatch it also. We have the Blu-ray, but honestly, when do I find time to sit down and put in a Blu-ray and watch something that isn't Moana?
And yours is signed by Dougie Jones.
Yes. Yes, you were able to get his signature a few years ago.
Another one on this list is on many people's lists for best movies of all time, and that is Pulp Fiction. And I do think it is one of those movies you have to see before you die.
We also have The Dark Knight. We were just talking about this franchise. Wait, which one is it? It's Nolan's Dark Knight, right? Okay, perfect. Yes, we were just talking about how it made a shit ton of money also. So watch this movie, one of the best Batman movies, in my opinion.
Another one on this list is The Departed.
Departed, you always say it that way. I can't read this without saying Departed in my head. Starring
Leonardo DiCaprio and awesome supporting role by Jack Nicholson. Really, really good movie. At the time, I think it swept the Oscars. If not, it should have. It's so strong. It also has Marky Mark And the villain is, well, I won't spoil that, but there's several big names, and Alec Baldwin is in there too.
We also have The Mummy. I used to love this movie too. It does not hold up. 0% of it holds up.
I know Rachel Weisz is in it, and I saw it many years ago. I don't know how big she was back then.
Wasn't Brendan Fraser in it too?
Yeah, he was the star.
Yeah.
Made him a lot of money,
Listen,
too.
I really enjoyed that movie when I was a kid, but probably because I was like, whoa, he's eating people's eyeballs.
We were also playing Scorpion King, which is on Netflix also.
Does not hold up either.
And as my part-timer pointed out, this was back when The Rock wasn't as big as he is now. Like, this was one of the first few starring roles in film. And I was telling him, if they had released The Scorpion King now, even after so many years of not having the Mummy movies, it probably would have made more money than all of those Mummy films.
Oh, yeah.
Even now, do a Scorpion King 2. Do it.
The thing that I remember most from that is it was the first time that I really saw CGI or like understood what it was, and it looked terrible. Oh, it looks so like he's like a spaghetti scorpion.
It's so true. And I know people are mad at Warner Brothers for not putting the Black Adam character in Shazam next year, but honestly, The Rock is so much bigger than being just the villain for Shazam.
Right.
And yeah, you could have him be a villain and then spin him off into his own film, or you can focus on Dr. Sivana as they have been doing, set up the character of Shazam, and Black Adam, give him his own movie, and if you want to cross them over, do it in a third fucking movie. You can have, The Rock is massive. You can put him at any point in this franchise, and he will make money. I was just telling Sean today, have him play Howard the Duck, and that will make millions.
You don't think that they'll have the Black Adam like at the end of the credits in Shazam?
It's possible. And if they do, great, but it would just lead into a solo film, so it's kind of, I don't know where they can go from there.
Yeah, but then people would still be like, wow, it's Black Adam.
It could happen.
I'm calling it. Done. Called. Black Adam's going to be the end of Shazam.
All right, you're calling it.
You're not even shaking my hand.
I'm not saying, I'm not
truth.
disagreeing with you.
You just know I'm always right. We also have your favorite Blue Dingle, Watchmen.
Man, I was so excited when Watchmen went on Netflix because I'm like, oh yeah, we can. Oh wait, no, we can't play that at the comic shop at all. And you pointed out, and you're like, oh right, because of the blue penis. And I'm like, I'm thinking when Rorschach is splitting dogs in half, and then the sex scene between Night Owl and Saturn,
Jupiter, whatever.
And then I kept thinking about it. And I'm like, well, there's also the arms getting ripped off, sawed off in the jail scene. There is him throwing hot grease on another inmate in the movie. I'm like, yeah, there's more than just the blue penis here. Like, that's probably the least thing out of all these.
I mean, but still, the blue penis. Like, the other stuff you might kind of ignore while you're walking through, but if there's a bright blue penis on the screen, you can be like, what the hell?
Because it's America. You play that in Europe, it's the opposite.
Right. But now we can watch it again. We were talking about how we haven't seen it in a while, so let's add that to the list of things we won't watch before they leave Netflix.
Another Zack Snyder gem, though. So definitely check it out if you haven't.
We also have Godzilla Part 3. This is the Netflix original. So this is the anime style that came out with. It has subtitles at the bottom that don't match up with what they're actually saying.
That's true.
But the first two parts have been really good. Is this the last part? The third?
That's the way they were marketing it. I think we'll see more out of it, but I seem to remember them saying that it was going to be a 3-parter at least initially. And if you're going to end it, you do end it on Monster Zero.
Who looks awesome. Different design than we've seen. If you scroll over it, it's got like, it comes out the 7th? Something like that. But you see like a little preview of it. And the first two parts have been really good. They've, kind of built this mystery in this different world. And at first you're like, fucking hate Godzilla. And now you're just like, no, Godzilla.
Another thing that supports this being the last one is the priest from the first two parts, who has been really supportive of Haruo, has now kind of given away his plan as to the whole thing is all about King Ghidorah. It's about them bringing him, or at least this priest bringing him into Earth. And initially it's, I guess, to eradicate the Earth of Godzilla. But from the trailer, it seems like he wants full death and destruction because that is the god of death and destruction. So it would also make sense as to why he's been helping Haruo this whole time. And it's I still ship them together, by the way. I still want this romance. And the priest guy, because of when he was whispering really close to him. And he kept taking care of him the whole time?
No, Haru's going to be with the Aborigine.
Speaking of them, we did not get any hint of Mothra in this third preview.
We did.
We see them, but we don't see the egg again.
Do you see Mothra's leg?
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do.
I think you're thinking of the real Godzilla
No,
movie.
you see Mothra's legs.
Get out of here.
Yes.
I missed that part then.
Well, apparently you did, because I saw it was like a shadow of a leg. It was a real hairy bug leg.
So Mothra will be in this?
Yes.
He's going to help Godzilla.
They're waking him up.
Good. I love Mothra. This is good news.
As long as, what's his name isn't in there? King Caesar? I don't want to hear his song.
You and King Caesar.
Caesar.
So you're okay with Mothra hearing her song?
Yes. Because they're going to play it anyway. I've already resigned. But if they're like singing the Mothra song, like, Mothra, or whatever his song is, and then they're like, Caesar, I'm going to be like, no, I'm done.
It's like 10 minutes of singing.
The whole third movie is just singing.
This whole thing's a music video.
It's a musical. Sing along. That would be Leo's new favorite. He's like, oh, sing along.
Disney is also adding 2 films onto Netflix's lineup, and this is, again, the residuals of their deal with Netflix. One of their final Pixar movies, I believe, is actually going to be The Incredibles 2, and then their final Marvel one should be Captain Marvel. But Solo, a Star Wars story, will be hitting Netflix. This is the movie that Disney decided, hold up, let's take a step back. This did not make the money we wanted. We're not going to release one of these Star Wars movies every year, because the original plan is, all right, this is episode 7, and now we're going to have, Solo, and now we're going to have episode 8, and now we're going to have another Solo movie, and they've since scrapped that and said, we're just going to take our time and make sure we do the regular installments right, and then from there move into possibly spin-offs. But they canceled the Yoda one, they canceled the Boba Fett. They're going to focus on the TV streaming movies or TV shows. But as far as the cinema is concerned, episode 9 is going to be it for a little bit until they decide what the next trilogy will be. And yes, episode 9 will backpedal so much on what they set up in Last Jedi and in the first one I'm telling you right now, it's going to happen. Every single fucking character is going to be related to everyone, and every single fucking theory is going to come true. So all of these Star Wars fans can stop crying about how Snoke is not this ancient Sith. No, he will be. Don't worry. And he's going to come back. And Rey is going to be Obi-Wan's granddaughter or daughter, whatever the hell. Everyone is going to be related. Captain Phasma will be related to Boba Fett in some way, and she will return. All of these things are going to happen, so be happy. R2-D2 is going to be related to BB-8. All of this, they're going to overdo it, and I hope they do. Related? Because the fans want that, and as soon as they get it, they can bitch about it.
No.
Disney's going to cave. They need to cave because they think that's what's going to bring back the cash.
I don't approve. I palpa disapprove.
I talked about The Incredibles 2. Do you have any desire to see the sequel?
I already saw it. Didn't I talk about it on the show?
I don't remember.
Oh, I saw it when it was in theaters. It was like a work thing. They paid for me to go. So I'm like, all right, you're going to pay for me to go. I'll go see it. It was okay. I would like to see the first one again now that I'm a parent, because I think I would view it and appreciate it differently. The main theme of the second one, it mostly follows Elastigirl, right? But rediscovering who she is now that she's a mom and a wife, right? Because she's not really who she was anymore. Her entire life has been being a wife and a mom. And they didn't really play up that emotion enough for me, because there was a shit ton that you could do with that, right? Because it's a very real thing for a lot of moms. And they just kind of lightly touched on it. And there were some funny parts where, like, dad is left alone with the 3 kids. And, of course, hilarity ensues because he has no idea what to do. And he just, like, falls asleep every night, exhausted. And the kids still, homework isn't done and they haven't eaten and, all this stuff. So there were a few funny things that I could enjoy and appreciate and relate to, obviously, because we're parents now. But again, there was a lot of emotion that they missed out on, even within that.
I didn't care too much for the first Incredibles, so I don't know if I'm going to see this, but this whole list, January 2019, is one of the strongest months that we've gotten, and this is not the full list. You can go on. I think there's a Marvel movie that's making it this month.
Netflix is putting out a lot of original stuff, too. Like, a lot of original stuff.
As we said earlier, check out on Google what's new on Netflix January 2019 for the full list.
Like you said, it was a shorter news week, so that actually does do it for our news, but we still have a whole bunch left in this podcast. First, we're going to start out with our Brocat block. What happened in our lives this week?
We had 2 back-to-back major holidays, of course, Christmas 2018 and New Year's 2018. And little Leo man actually got to open up and tear up paper for his very first Christmas.
It's his second Christmas, right? He was only 3 months old last Christmas. So yes, it was a lot of fun. It's more fun, and I had heard this and we didn't really experience it last year, but it's more fun watching Christmas through their eyes, right? Because it's huge for them. There's so much cool stuff. They're like ripping wrapping paper and oh my God, it's a new toy, you know? So it was really cool. He got one of those little cars that you ride in. And my favorite part about that is it's got a little like gas cap that you can open, right? So he took his gas can from his lawnmower and
it's like a fake toy
one, like a fake toy one. But he fills it up with gas every day with his little gas can in, like he sticks it in the hole and then he'll look at you and you got to make glug glug noises or he gets real angry. And then he got a sandbox. Loves his sandbox. There was a pound of sand in his diaper today because he just kept throwing it down the back of his shirt. I don't know why. Oh, he also ate a big handful of it.
Oh, man.
And then like he ate it and then he was like, nah. And I was like, sorry, kid, you did it. Like you gotta learn. So he got those. He got some blocks. He got a bunch of clothes. He had fun.
I'm still laughing at the sand eating.
He did. He just took a giant and he went, and then he stuck his tongue out and it was just like clumped on his tongue. And he was like, nah, nah. And I was like, sorry, kid. That's on you. You got to learn, right?
Yeah, he had a good time visiting both our parents. You know, in the morning, early afternoon, we were at your parents' and then we went over to mine and he got to run around with the dogs and run around with our different family members, enjoy his toys, of course. And he got a lot of clothes for, what month was it? Like 24 months?
24 months. So he's not in them yet, but that's what you always got to do with kids because they go through growth spurts. I feel like he's grown so much just in the last 2 weeks. And so you got to buy a size bigger so that when they get into them, you get a little more life out of it.
And his blocks were pretty huge because he likes to stack those things all the time. So that was good thinking on your end.
He stacks bricks outside. I was like, let's get you some soft blocks.
And New Year's was a tame one for us parents. Leo went to sleep at 9, and then we stayed up until midnight, and we promptly went to sleep.
Right afterwards. It was a busy week for both of us, though, because, and we mention every year you're in retail, and I'm, working a theme park, food and beverage. So it's just insane. I got to my Friday this week and I mean, you can even vouch, like I was out cold. I was just done. I was exhausted, but it was a fun time too. Like it was busy, but we were breaking records and there was cool stuff going on in the park around me to see all those things and kind of be a part of that celebration. I'm thankful I didn't have to work till midnight. So we got to spend our 11th New Year's midnight together, which is pretty big. Like it's special for me now. I feel like if it around year 3, if we had broken the cycle, it'd been like, okay. But now it's 11 years. Like we can't ever break this cycle.
It's like your Pirates of the Caribbean movies. You have to see it in theaters.
Yeah. You have to. So it was good. I drank wine. I felt important. The neighbors were launching off fireworks. I was like, if you wake up my fucking kid.
And he did not, which was crazy.
Yeah, Leo slept through the whole thing. Poor Ace was terrified, but Leo just slept.
Like some of those were right outside our window, and it's like, okay, is he okay? Because he should have woken up from that.
Right?
Like we were kind of worried there.
Nope, just slept through it all. I was okay. But of course, if I tiptoe into his room, he wakes right up. So
right, of course.
Whatever.
You had a bit of unfortunate news with your new phone.
We say new. It's a year old now.
I mean, all right.
My phone's a year old. So I purchased an OtterBox case. I've purchased 2 Pure Gear tempered glass screen protectors. And because I'm anticipating Leo, right? He's going to throw it around, all this stuff. I thought the warranty on all those covered if anything happened to my phone, right? That would make sense.
Well, this was also according to the salesperson.
Yes. So I've spent now $120 because I had to buy 2 tempered glass. $120 on phone protection to make sure my phone didn't get cracked. rocking Leo in his chair, set my phone face down with the tempered glass on his desk, picked it up, and it was cracked underneath the tempered glass, but the tempered glass was not cracked where my phone was cracked.
Okay, so the tempered glass is fine.
Yes.
So, okay.
I mean,
all right.
Yes, but my phone was cracked underneath the tempered glass. So that makes zero, like, I have no idea how that even happened, right? So I looked at it and I thought just the tempered glass was cracked. So I peeled off the tempered glass and my phone's cracked underneath it. So I called T-Mobile and I was like, hey, so, because it was over New Year's weekend that this happened. So everywhere's closed, right? Nobody else is taking my call, but T-Mobile has to. They're still open. And they said, yeah, no, the warranty only covers if something happens to their product, not actually to your phone. And I was very nice and didn't get mad at the associate, even though I was very angry. And so then I called one of the, like, local You Break, I Fix, whatever. It wasn't that company, but a third party. And I was like, so how much is it to replace my screen? It's $300. That's more than I spent on the phone. So now I'm trying to, like, justify and balance everything, right? Because I can spend the $300 and still have paid half price for the phone, even with getting the screen fixed. But at the same time, I bought all this money in protection. Why didn't it work, right? So that's where I am. Like, I'm not quite as heated now, but I was pretty upset.
Did anything come out of the Twitter tags that you put in the original tweet?
Both of them tweeted me back. Otterbox was like, oh, sorry to hear that, but how's your case? And that's not even the point, Otterbox. And then the other one was like, we're trying to message you and we can't, because I guess I had messages blocked unless I was following them.
Right.
So I turned that off so they could message me, and they still haven't messaged me. So
I think if you follow them, then they can message you. But if you turn it off completely, then I think anyone can message you. So
right.
You might want to.
Well, I get it, but I don't really want to follow them right now. I just want them to message me so I can respond and then turn it off again.
Right.
So
did you tweet them and say you can DM me now?
Yeah.
Or okay.
I did. They haven't responded yet. It was earlier in the day. So like I said, I don't know that anything will come out of it. I'm still going back and forth so I can get it fixed for $300. I could stick another tempered glass on the top so I won't cut myself. The screen's going to be distorted. And will I really be happy with that? Probably not. So, ugh.
Well, relating it back to something closer to the podcast and something you have had fun with, and that is you've made more progress on the Nintendo Switch's Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.
I did. I haven't made super progress, but the thing I did want to bring up is I used the Pokeball controller for the first time this week. So I hadn't used it before then. I've only been playing it on the handheld. Finally put it up on the TV. You got to see it.
Yeah, I did.
On the TV. I really... After seeing that, and I still prefer to play it on the handheld, but I really feel that game was made for the TV. Like, it's beautiful, it's huge, you can see so much more of everything, and the Pokeball controller was not as awkward as I thought it was going to be. Because I was like, how the hell are you going to play on... There's no B button. They made a B button. It's B and X. But it's really cool, especially how you catch the Pokemon. Because you throw it, you toss the Pokeball at the TV, but they have the strap and the finger hold and all this bullshit. And then it lights up, right? It blinks like there's actually a Pokemon inside, and then it catches it, and then it makes the Pokemon noise! Oh my god.
Even when you're fighting, the hits come out of the Pokemon. Pokeball.
The Pokeball, like it shakes and everything. The only thing is it's very loud, and I don't know if you can turn down the volume. I haven't tried, but that would be a pain in the ass, you know, when, like if you got the kids sleeping or something and you don't want them to hear it. But I thought I was sneaky today, right? And Leo wouldn't take his nap. So I was like, fine, I'm going to play Pokemon. But he always tries to grab my controllers and stuff, right? So I was like, I'll play with the Pokeball, and then he won't even notice that I'm playing with it, right? That worked for about 10 minutes. And then he's like, oh, Mom, what's this? He kept trying to grab it. So I said, fine. And I turned it off, and I put the Pokeball up on the TV stand, like behind the Switch, so he couldn't even see it. He found it. I don't even know how he's walking through, like hitting the button and it's lighting up. I'm like, Leo, can mommy have that? And he gave it right to me, which was great. But he loves that Pokeball too.
It's adorable. We might have to get him like just the dummy one, right?
Right. He'll take the real one anyway. Who are we kidding?
Yeah, that's true.
He's a kid.
We did have a question from Brokehead at Insmouth_Tide. And I did promise that we were going to answer it last week, but we're answering it this week because of last week's A very different episode than what we normally do for the show. And he wanted to know, what's our favorite comic series of 2018?
Did he really ask me that? Because my answer is the same always and forever.
What was it?
Saga.
From Image Comics, Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples.
If I had to give a runner-up, I would probably say Archie. Archie was very solid, too.
Yeah, those are really good choices.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go wrong if you're looking for a new comic or a series to catch up on with trade paperbacks, at least. Saga and the Archie book from the current ongoing. Yeah, they're both really good stories.
The thing I think I appreciate about both of them the most is I feel like every issue is consistent. Like there's a lot of consistency in the storytelling, in the art, in everything. Whereas with, some other books like Detective Comics, like Batman, they have fantastic stories, but you have this arc that's fantastic because it's this team. And then the second one's not quite so strong, right? But with both of those, Saga and Archie, it was consistent all the way through. Very solid titles.
It's really tough for me to narrow it down. I'll give you a top 3. Number 1 is I have to go with Doomsday Clock by Jeff Johns. Even though it's a once every 2-month release, it is one of those books that normally I save for last on the reading pile, right? But lately I've just been like, I got to read the latest Doomsday Clock with beautiful artwork by Gary Frank. And I know it's getting that delay because of it. He puts everything and all kinds of detail into this comic book. At the end, it's going to be a very well-remembered story because they are taking their time and making sure that it is the best comic that it can be. And Jeff is constructing the story, and the Watchmen meeting the universe that is DC Comics works really well. It reads like a Watchmen book, but with DC moments, if that makes any sense. The big moments are massive. And I think it's a very good sequel to the original Watchmen, and it makes it so that it's careful and honoring that legacy that was set up in that, of course, classic series. All 12 issues, I believe it was originally for Watchmen. So that's going to be my number 1. 2 has to be, I think, Peter J. Tomasi's Superman. That whole run with him and Lois Lane and Jonathan Kent just being a family unit, saving the world together, being father and son together, being a family, going out to the carnival. That was a big theme in it. And it's also super patriotic when they did the July issues, when they went around the nation and went to the different landmarks. It is the perfect Superman story, the perfect Superman run. And so far, Bendis hasn't topped that. Peter J. Tomasi is amazing, though. It's going to be hard to do that. And now he's going to be on Detective Comics. We just said that he's going to work on the 1000th issue. He just released his 2nd issue this week for Detective. So that's going to be my number 2. 3 it's another tough one. I mean, I can't... maybe Super Sons is what I'd have to go with, which is also Peter J. Tomasi. I'm really liking Heroes in Crisis, actually. The artwork by Clayman is incredible, and the story by Tom King has also been good. Mr. Miracle is another, maybe that's a 4th one right there. So several answers for you, Innsmouth, but my number 1 is going to be Doomsday Clock.
Thank you for that question. You guys are always welcome to submit questions to us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Kelli. But that does wrap up our Brocat block, and we can jump into our Patreon shoutouts of the week. We have 6 shoutouts coming to you this week. First is Elizabeth, whose Twitter handle is at @eplifts.
She tweeted, quote, "Me, I'm not going to see Captain Marvel. Husband, you are a woman that doesn't support other women. Does anyone have room to house him until he figures out what he's done?" End quote.
He obviously did not take the same husband class that you did, because that is something you don't ever say to your wife.
If you don't want to see that subpar look, that looks as interesting as Doctor Strange. That looks as interesting as bad as Ant-Man. Maybe Ant-Man and the Wasp. I did not see it. Terrible movies. Don't just save your money. If you don't want to see Captain Marvel, you don't feel obligated. Good on you, Elizabeth. And bad on, I guess, her husband. I don't know where he's at now.
Somebody else's house, clearly.
Next shout out goes out to Joshua T on Twitter at Drips1963.
He tweeted a mashup image of The Lion King and King of the Hill. Quote, propaganda. I don't understand that joke.
He's always selling propane and propane accessories.
Oh, okay.
He's holding up Bobby as Simba. If you like King of the Hill, follow Joshua at Drips1963. Next shout out goes out to Nick F on Twitter with 2 accounts, at Jersey Whisperer and Nick's Nerd News 1.
Nick will be filling in for me when I get my wisdom teeth removed in not the next episode, but the one after he will be on.
There you go. At least that's the plan.
Yes.
We will see what happens.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Nick, for helping us out with Palpa Kelli, as she will be in similar pain, I guess. As I don't know if it's as bad as childbirth, at least maybe a fraction of it.
Somebody told me it's worse than childbirth.
That's insane.
And I was like, what? No. Have you birthed a child? Because clearly not, because nothing is worse than... I mean, I'm sure there's things worse than childbirth,
sure.
But childbirth is like pretty shitty. The good thing is I'm going to get a lot of drugs. And I was telling somebody, because they're like, oh, that sucks that you have to do that. I said, no, I get 5 days of childcare. Like, somebody else will watch my kid, and I just get to sleep. Sure, I'll be in pain, but I just get to sleep.
And these 3 shoutouts that we just did would normally be on last week's episode, but with that mega review show with Aquaman and Into the Spider-Verse, we included them here, so you will still get another shoutout later this month. Next one on the list goes out to Alexander on Twitter at Swordfish Show. You can also find him at purpleswordfish.com. It redirects you straight to his YouTube channel where he does live streams. Especially if you're a Madden fan, definitely check out his channel.
Alex finally did a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate stream, and he went through the story mode as Kirby.
Yeah, we were watching that and giving him tips as to which moves to make. Julian from Lazy Gaming Guys was getting kind of upset because he's like, he has other moves. Like he kept doing the jump up, float, and turn into a rock. And
That's
then the
how
sword
I
move.
play. Oh, I don't even use a sword move. I just go bloop, bloop.
He was making it through, though.
That's awesome. Good for him.
Another shout out goes out to Lourdes and Katie.
Katie got her masked Polystone Deathstroke statue for the holidays.
One to go with her unmasked Deathstroke Polystone statue from the same line, which was an exclusive to comic shops.
You gotta have them all.
Final shout out goes out to Bobby on Twitter at Cuban Slim.
Bobby tweeted out a PSA for us all, quote, if you drop a deuce the size of a small child in a public restroom, not in your own home or dwelling, 1, you have a problem, see a doc. 2, WTF is wrong with you. Save that for your own home to be your problem, end quote.
Yeah, he also works in retail that has public access to bathrooms with a smaller staff, so naturally we have to deal... The retailers have to deal with that mess.
Shit.
Yes. And I've had my share of horror stories. Both my part-timers as well have had that. And it baffles me as to what their bathroom looks like for these people that seem to think it's cool to shit on top of the lid of a restroom. Like, lid closed and then you shit. Like, it's malicious.
How does that even work?
It's got to be malicious.
Like, you got to squat over it to make that happen.
It's done on purpose, and I don't understand why these people do that. And I've heard worse things from other people.
Ugh.
The owner used to work at a theme park, so he's like, no, this is nothing.
I mean, they do get pretty bad in the theme parks.
On that note, thank you all so much for the Patreon support. If you too would like your shout out every single month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke. For just $1 a month equals out to 25 cents an episode. You too can get your shout out and contribute to Kelly's coffee addiction.
It is an addiction. Speaking of which, before I get into the next part, I have discovered a new way to make my coffee. I make my coffee and then I pour the pre-made Starbucks peppermint mocha in it as the creamer. So my creamer is espresso in my coffee. It's bad. But anyway.
Pimp your coffee?
Pimp your
espresso
coffee.
in your espresso.
It's perfect. But anyway, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do is leave us a review on whatever podcatcher you use. Let your friends know about us. All of these things help other listeners find us as well.
Huge thanks to Jose over at decalavenue.com for the help at the $5 decal reward tier.
And if you want to interact more often with Daniel, not just through Twitter, not just through Facebook, you can head over to our Discord lounge. I believe we have a link in the show comments, in the show
description,
whatever it's called. But you can head on over there, and Daniel checks it pretty frequently and is always interacting with other listeners.
Yeah, Lazy Gaming Guys, Purple Swordfish, and several of the Brokehead Core members are there, putting up messages pretty much every single day.
But with all of that news out of the way, all of our Patreon shoutouts, we can now move into our comic book highlights of the week.
Since the Brokehead Core members enjoyed that we did the previews catalog highlights last month, I believe, we got some good feedback on it, so we're going to do it again since it is that week that the previews catalog has released. Then we're going to move into Inside Editions hardcover for the art and making of Aquaman, and finally, our review, which is for Superior Spider-Man #1.
Would you like to talk about your previews things first?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things that I ended up adding onto my order for this month's previews, and for anyone that's not familiar with this is a massive, pretty much a Christmas catalog for comic shops. It comes out once a month. It's $3.99. Diamond loses money on printing these. Like, I know that for a fact. They're $3.99 for all of these pages, and this is how comic shops do their orders. This is how a lot of our subscribers at the shop do their orders as well. They'll go through that catalog each month, and they'll they'll order things that normally comic shops would not order, but that's how you get those things. You special order them. And this month, they highlighted the free Comic Book Day books, 3 of which I am going to be getting. And we've got the free Comic Book Day Pokemon one.
Cool. Gotta
support Pokemon. Gotta check out the manga. We always end up getting extras for after Comic Book Day, because then you can give them out throughout the year to kids and to our Pokemon players, for example. And also the free Comic Book Day Street Fighter edition, which I haven't gotten a Street Fighter comic in several years because Udon has not been publishing them. But hopefully this means that we will be getting more in the future. And then for my mom, Little Lulu, because that's what she used to grow up reading.
They're doing a free Comic Book Day one?
They are.
That's amazing.
It's supposed to be to celebrate the launch of the reprintings of older comics. So hopefully this means that I can start getting her those collected editions again, because when they stopped doing them, she was like, oh, what happened? Why'd they stop? I'm like, I don't know. So now they're continuing them, and they're kicking it off with the free Comic Book Day edition. Did you want to bring, I don't know if we're going to be able to, but is Leo going to be able to make it out for his first free Comic Book Day?
Oh, that would be amazing. He would love it. You'll have to let me know when it is, and maybe I can take off work.
First Saturday in May every year.
Okay, I'll try. We'll see.
They also advertised The Sender from Dustin Nguyen, Image Comics. That is the sequel
You
to
mean
The Sender.
Ascender?
Yeah, Ascender.
Okay.
What did I say?
I thought you said Descender, but Ascender and Descender sound very similar.
Yeah, sequel to The Sender, and I know Dustin has said on Instagram that it's refreshing for him to start working on something that is not just robots and space, but instead it is kind of like a prehistoric-ish, lots of flesh and blood creatures. So that'll be good to see him kind of explore that different side of his art.
His art is always so beautiful. Whatever Dustin puts out, we will be on board with.
There's also a one-shot that spins off of Dark Knight's metal called The Grim Knight. We saw him first in Batman Who Laughs, which debuted last month. And this is going to be a one-shot, which I believe gives us at least his origin.
You know what his origin is?
What is it?
Who cares?
Yeah, he did not care for anything of Dark Knight.
Nope, still don't.
Dark Knight's metal.
Metal, still don't. Nope.
I'm also going to be getting the Catwoman #9 variant, as well as Supergirl 28 variant, which are going to be by Archer, Stanley Lau. Love his covers. There's also going to be an Adam Hughes one for Superman that I'll be getting.
I love Adam Hughes.
And the latest addition to the Batman, the animated series line of action figures, is going to be the Bat Cycle, which I think we saw in maybe 2 or 3 episodes, but it was so memorable. Amazing design to the cycle. It fit perfectly well with the Batwing and the Batmobile. And then his helmet, which is pretty much just his cowl, but a little bit bigger.
Yep.
Just wears it on top of it, and it comes with that exclusive figure. That's one I have to do an unboxing for. I have to open it. I have to display it. It looks gorgeous. I don't know if it lights up, but if it does, amazing. I think it's $60 for the thing, so cannot wait. Marvel is actually going to be doing a Hulk 181 facsimile edition, which is an exact reprinting of that issue.
Oh, cool.
The difference between that is the first appearance of Wolverine, and that is unlike their True Believers, which are reprintings of older issues, but they'll have modern ads in it, kind of advertising traits that are related to that book. And this one, it's an exact replication of that old one. So it has all of the original ads in there reprinted, and because of that, they do charge $3.99 for it.
Right. That's pretty cool, though, that they're just kind of copy and paste, right?
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And the last couple of things that I have on my list here from my order, Sabrina the Teenage Witch from Archie. It's going to be a 5-issue miniseries, and it does take place, I believe, in the same universe as the Archie that we're reading now.
Cool.
And I'm going to be getting the Hughes variant for that as well. Love Adam Hughes. And that's going to be cover C for anyone that's interested and wants to pre-order it ahead of time. I also wrote down your Pikachu mug, which you noticed today as you were going through your previews.
Yeah!
What'd you think?
It's so cool. He's Pikachu, and then the handle's like a little lightning bolt. Not at all for comfort. That is not what this cup is for. But I love Pikachu. I've been wanting a Pikachu mug for forever, so I'm glad they came out with one. And, that was the first gift you ever got me, too, was a Pikachu mug.
I also put down Scott and Al from Lazy Gaming Guys and Swordfish Show for the Sonic the Hedgehog annual that is going to be releasing. I put them down for all the covers because they have been getting all the covers for all of the Sonic comics.
Oof.
So got them down for that. But yeah, that was my order for the month.
It's a pretty big order. I flipped through. I saw a lot of cool shit. Nothing I'm going to buy.
Anything that stuck out aside from the Pikachu mug?
There was a blue hair Vegeta plush. Who doesn't want that? They had a lot of really cool stuff. Obviously, tons of Dragon Ball Z that the show is still widely popular. So they're coming out with a ton of stuff, which is great. A million pops.
Yeah.
Nothing I wanted to get, maybe. I just saw pops and I kept flipping, right? The one thing I did think was cool is they came out with something, it's still Funko, but they don't look like pops. They're all the Disney princesses, but I guess they wear different costumes, normal clothes in Wreck-It Ralph. So they're coming out with those, which I thought was a pretty interesting concept. There'll be some people who will like those. They look like real dolls as opposed to actual Funkos.
I think they're in the line of Rock Candy, which is also done by Funko, I believe.
That. A lot of really cool stuff. The Pikachu mug really stood out to me also, so thank you. A lot of Sailor Moon stuff.
Wasn't there a gift set that they had?
Yeah, there
there
was. It was pretty cool. It came with a mug, a keychain, and then a notebook, I think. Where the notebook kind of threw me. I'm like, you could have done something better than that. Because they're like, drink some coffee and take some notes. And I'm like, or...
write your fan fiction in it.
Yeah, I could. I don't write Sailor Moon fan fiction.
Doesn't have to be Sailor Moon.
I'm too tired to think of fan fiction right now. I do have some great ideas, though. Who's going to proofread my fan fiction?
No one. It's fan fiction. You're supposed to just upload it as is.
With all the typos
and
everything? That always bothers me. And I get that a lot of writers are self-published now, but legitimate books that you can pay money for that have typos, and I'm just like, no. No.
It's actually not that bad in finding an editor. It's not as expensive as people think. I was listening to Dave Ramsey's A School of Podcasting, and he was saying that for $500 you can self-publish your own, and he gave the breakdown here's the editor, here's someone that'll format it for you, and for $500 you can self-publish your own book. So it was really interesting.
I mean, if you do it right too, you can make a shit ton of money doing that, because you sell your book for $1 or $2, and then you only need 250 people to spend $2 and then you've paid off what you invested into it. And if you're just doing it for fun.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that he pointed out. He had an author on there that is a podcaster that has done books, and he's like, yeah, it doesn't work out where you can just throw it up online and then hope that it'll sell and watch the money flow. He's like, you should really only publish if you already have an audience that you can sell these things to. You can't just self-publish as is and then hope for the best, because that's not how things work.
Well, you have to do marketing. Yeah, there's other stuff involved in it. Anyway, I digress. I didn't really flip through the comics. I trust you. There are too many pages. 75% of that book is comics. I just want to see the toys. There was... Who was in there? Oh, Kirby was in there with all the sexy anime.
The Nendoroids, yeah. Yeah, because I was like, and there's the sexy anime. That's the portion where the owner and I would joke, times 15 of that. Yep, I approve. And, we continue. And we always pick, the most lewd one. The ones that we would never sell.
That's a scene from a cheesy sitcom. It's you two just, but it has to be in every episode when you do that.
But that was the weird part, because mixed among all of those sexy anime ladies was Kirby.
I mean, it was Kirby's sucking up stuff face, so it fit.
Sexy Kirby, I guess. Anything else that you wanted to point out in the previews catalog?
Nope, that's all that I saw. I mean, it's a really cool book for what, $3.99 is what you said it was?
Yeah, $3.99 for the whole catalog.
Pick it up. It's fun to flip through. I wish they would include stickers, really want, sort of want.
Just that would make it better. On this time,
right? That'd make it better. They could charge me $4.99 for that.
Apparently, retailers already whined that it's like, can't you make it cheaper? It's
What?
like, I'm like, it's $3.99. Even I'm a retailer, and I'm saying this is great.
Right, that's a
$3.99
great
for all
price.
of this.
Less than a cup of coffee.
Next book on our list for today's podcast comes from Inside Edition. Thank you so much for sending this over for Kelli and I. And it is The Art and Making of Aquaman hardcover. You've seen images on Twitter and on Instagram. This art book is properly a massive hardcover. Showcases in mainly horizontal ways the ocean, the artwork, the different pieces, the concepts. And the forward and afterward, the forwards by introductions by Jason Momoa and James Wan as well. And then the highlights as it goes into the comic books from Jeff Johns that inspired the film.
It's an absolutely beautiful book. It really takes us back to, the things we talked about last week about how massive this movie is, how beautiful it is. The sets, it breaks down, and again, we've only seen it the one time, so I really didn't get to really pick apart, the different sceneries and the way they designed these particular kingdoms. But with this book, you really get to see that. So, okay, for example, the fishermen, all their boats, I don't know what they travel around in.
They're sea craft.
They're all modeled after creatures. So you can tell that this is a species that doesn't want to be invasive at all, right? They just kind of want to blend in and observe everything.
Which fits into their philosophy.
Right, which is very much in their philosophy. And then you have the Kakamora. That's not them, but they're, riding around on these spooky skeleton shrimp things. I don't know. And so, yeah, like you said, a lot of background about where they got the ideas from this. Shirtless Jason Momoa is all up in that book. So moms, go out and enjoy purchasing it. Really cool stuff.
The lighthouse scene has beautiful concept. Like every single scene in the movie that you saw has concept art that goes with it. Sometimes it's a little bit different than what you saw on the big screen, which is fascinating too, because you get to see some of the sort of original wardrobe that a lot of these characters would have worn. The one that stuck out to me was in the desert scene with Momoa, and his gear in the book, or at least in the concept art, was very different than what you saw on the big screen. So it's fascinating to see the breakdown, the different type of CGI that they did, the original setups to the scenes, as you do see the characters, the actors in wires, which you also pointed out is something you did not know they did.
I had no idea. So in all the scenes when they're swimming, swimming around in the ocean, I just assumed it was all CGI, but no, they actually put them on wires and pushed them around, so you got that very, I guess, realistic motion that they would have, which was really cool to me. I didn't know that what's his name's little man fishtail arms, it was CGI, which why would you even do that? Like, just get rid of it. The page that I love the most, and this was what I was waiting for, and I was so happy they put it in there, is it's actually a flip out page, so you get the full image, but it's them diving down into the trench.
Yes.
Just that scene that I loved with, you got the boat and then the water that cuts it in half, and then them swimming towards that light, and you just see all these spooky ass trench everywhere. That was what I wanted in this book. That was worth the price of the book alone, is just to sit there and be able to digest that image for as long as you want.
Yeah, if you want to buy this hardcover, there's a link in today's show notes. So definitely check it out. We've been sending out these links online as well on Twitter. And you can find this hardcover at Barnes & Noble. You can find it at certain online retailers. But go straight to Inside Editions. You can also actually have your comic shops order this for you. And they will, I believe, last time I checked, I got to double check on the price, but it was $39.99 on that one.
Inside the covers have $45. But it might have been Canadian price and not U.S. price.
You're right, it is $45, and if you go straight to Inside Editions, in the link you can find it, you can check out on the cart there, but they also have some links to, for example, Barnes & Noble and IndieBound, so you have different options on where you can buy this from. But again, you can also get it from your local comic book shop, ask them to place an order for you, and they can definitely do that. Beautiful book, beautiful hardcover, beautiful presentation, much like the other comics. I keep saying comics, much like the other books from Insight, it does make for not only a great work of art on its own in the way that it showcases all of this, but it does go with your other collection from Inside Editions.
if you really enjoyed Aquaman like I did, this book just kind of adds to that experience. It gives you more insight and background knowledge and gives you the opportunity to really sit there and study these sets and these scenes and this amazing world that they put together. And it gave me a further appreciation for what I actually saw on the big screen.
Yeah, thank you again. This is written by Mike Avila, by the way, the full hardcover. Thank you, Eric, so much for sending that over to us. We really appreciate it.
And the last thing we're going to bring up to you guys to round out this podcast is our actual comic book highlight, which is Superior Spider-Man #1. This is written by Christos Gage with art by Mike Hawthorne, and the colors is Jordi Belair.
We, of course, adore Dan Slott's Superior Spider-Man run, and this does take place several years after that book had finished. We've had an Amazing Spider-Man run since then by Dan Slott. And then it moved over to, was it Nick Spencer and Ryan Otley? I gotta double check. I haven't been following the Amazing Spider-Man story, but when they decided to give Superior Spider-Man his own book again, which is what I was waiting for, I was like, you bring back Superior Spider-Man, I will read Spider-Man again. And I was a little apprehensive by this, but it's Christos Gage, so yeah, let's give it a shot, and I subscribed to it. And it's not Dan Slott, who pretty much co-created the character. But did you feel like this was a good catch-up to the character? Because I know in the first couple of pages, you do get that, hey, this is why Ock is Superior Spider-Man again.
I think they did a good job setting it up. I felt like you really, yes, it builds off the last story, but you really didn't have to read the last story to be able to continue with this. They explain everything well enough where you don't really feel like you have that information crammed down your throat. It's just kind of his inner narration of this is where I've been to get to where I am. I will say I don't think I enjoyed this one as much as I enjoyed the previous one until I got to the end and we get that character back in there and I'm like, oh shit, I'm ready.
Yeah, there's a love story set up in there, which is one of the bigger hooks in Superior Spider-Man. It's one of the big parts of that full arc. And I'm glad that they are able to at least re-explore that, as Otto has moved over to California. I believe it's San Francisco that he's at now. And he's kind of making that city his own. And he's recognized that the reason he failed as Spider-Man essentially is because he tried to play by Spider-Man's rules as opposed to his own strengths. And in this case, he's moving forward with that. He's still brutal. He's still pretty condescending to everyone he encounters. But it seemed like this particular relationship that he's trying to not really repair, because he's like, I'm never going to hurt you, and I know that I can never get you back.
Right.
But know that
That just means he's going to get her back. That's exactly what that line means.
But he's pretty much saying that I'm not operating under that same way that I was before. So I'm rooting for him.
I did kind of laugh when she's like, I know who the fuck you are. And he's like, okay, I'll leave. I'll get a new body. Bye.
I'm calling the police.
He was just going to leave. Yeah, what are the police going to do? They're going to be like, ma'am, you're out your mind.
The one thing I did think was really neat also with this particular artwork is it feels like a little bit more old school. It's a little bit flatter than what you normally get with a lot of these comics. So it felt like classic Spider-Man in a weird way, because the colors are bright, the backgrounds are a little bit more simple, and it's not hyper-rendered as you might get in some of these other books from both Marvel, DC, or the independent publishers. And I thought it was gorgeous to look at. I think it's proper for what they're trying to do here. It's not overly dark to reflect the character of Superior Spider-Man. I think the cover is a little bit misleading in that way. I think it would have been great to get maybe one of the city shots instead, just to show that this is maybe in San Francisco, like have him on the Golden Gate Bridge. That would have been really neat. But, you know, what am I complaining about the cover? The interiors are beautiful.
Right. The cover wasn't up to par.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm giving this a few issues, of course, and if it continues, then we'll continue subbing to it. I think right now it's our only Marvel comic on our list, so why not? And if you did enjoy Superior Spider-Man from Dan Slott, I think this is a proper continuation of it.
If you enjoy Spider-Man in general, this is an interesting twist on the character, right? Because it's Otto, and you feel like you shouldn't like him, but you still root for him.
Yeah, and some of you that might not have read Superior Spider-Man are thinking, how's Otto Octavius Spider-Man? It's like, well, pick up #1 and all of that will be explained in that, in case you didn't read Dan Slott's run.
But with that, guys, we will wrap up our podcast, our first podcast of 2019.
Yes.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for coming on this journey with us for the last year, or if this is your first episode, thank you for tuning in as well.
Yeah, we're excited to see where we get to by the end of 2019. We're excited to have you all continue on this journey or jump on this journey with us as we share our passion of comics, movies, TV, video games, and more for your Podcast Awards nominated The Reasons I'm Broke podcast. That's the goal for this year. Let's go for it again. Third time's the charm, right?
That's our resolution.
That's right. Try to win the Podcast Awards, which nominated for 2 years in a row. That's what you're listening to right now, and hopefully we can bring you more of that this year.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, reach out to us on Twitter at ReasonsI'mBroke at Kelli. We do this show for all of you, so we love to listen to your questions, answer your questions, just talk to you in general.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Biker Daniel.
I'm Ember Kelli.
And Broke at Core.
All will be well.